Hi and welcome to Jessie James Beads. My name is Jem and today the sun is shining, which can mean only one thing. It's summer festival time. Let's make some beautiful festival fringe earrings together. What a lineup we've got for you with Fleetwood Mac, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, Queen, The Rolling Stones, The Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin and Bob Dylan. What a lineup that would be. So I'm going to be working today with the Jimi Hendrix Mini Mix. How fabulous are these? I particularly adore these little doohickeys. They're in fact bead caps, not doohickeys, but you know. And then I'm also going to be cutting this insanely gorgeous strand, The Doors. So I've cut the strand and there's loads of beads that you can use on here in place of the ones that I've chosen. It's a fabulously funky strand, The Doors. I particularly like the chain embedded on the side of this huge bead from that central focal. So the wire we're going to use today is 18 gauge. I've gone for a copper colour and I have around about 7 inches of wire. I'm going to be using my multi-step bail makers, but you could use any round form that you like to. I'm going to be using the largest step. So I'm going to bring that probably about 1/3 of the way along and I'm going to create a round form with a bit of a tail going over the top. Like so. So I've just looped that around and we have a round form down at the bottom and a long tail coming away at the top. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a right angle bend coming up and away from that round form. And then I'm going to strengthen that round form just a tiny bit. Give it a little bit of a munch with those pliers. If you're heavy-handed and you feel like that will mark your wire, then you can of course use plastic coated pliers to help you with that. We're then going to start with 3 of these glorious blue enamel drops from the Jimi Hendrix Mini Bead Mix, and they will slide down into the little hoop we've made at the bottom. Beautiful movement and clustering when adding these drops onto the design. So that's 1, that's 2, and there's 3. You could just go for 2 and they'll sit side by side, but when you add 3, they'll vary between 1 pushing forwards and 2 sitting side by side. They're really beautiful in movement. So we're going to take this short tail of wire just once all the way around that central core wire. Bring that all the way across and I'm clenching very firmly to make sure that none of that wire changes shape and size. Now at this stage, what I would say, once you've given that a tiny bit of a squeeze, is make your earrings side by side. Let's just make that a little bit rounder. There we go. Make your earrings side by side so that you can ensure that you have the same length of wire available to you. Now we started with 7 inches. I'm just going to trim away so that I get 2 perfect matches. Just down here. We'll not worry about the one at the top because we'll simply trim that when we're ready to go. So if you do this, you will ensure that the next stage looks exactly the same. So we're going to grab some round pliers now, or you could use your memory wire finishing pliers. We're going to create a small spiral and rotate that wire around and then push that until it sits at the center of that upright core wire, like so. And the wire we took just 1 time around the core, which means that we can push this coiled section down over the face of that little loop with the dangly charms on the bottom there. Just make sure that you're happy with how tight everything is. Give that a teeny tiny squish and a squeeze and make sure that that spiral sits centrally on that round form. Then we're going to add in some more beads up at the top. So from the Doors strand, I've chosen a couple of beads, but also in the Jimi Hendrix Mini Mix, you get these fabulously peacock-hued bead caps. So we're going to pop one of those on first. Let that sit and snuggle down over the top of that little spiral, making sure that that is centralised. So then I decided to add one of these fantastic beautiful floral designs, and you have a drill aperture going through a petal or between a petal because it's a 5-pointed flower. So I'm going to match what I did on the first earring and pop that up through the petal, and then it will come out between the petals. So whichever one you choose is going to look beautiful, whether you go up between or you go up through. As long as you match them on both earrings, they will look fabulous. The next bead I'm going to use is from the Doors strand, and oh my goodness, it's absolutely stunning. Looks a little bit like a propeller. Let's get that on the wire in the centre. My wire's bent, which is why that was a little bit of an issue. So just take your time to make sure that your wire is nice and straight, and then get that bead lined up and all the way through. If you struggle with this at all, it may be that there's detritus in the bead. Just turn it over and go from the opposite direction, and you can pull that through like so. So at this stage, I'm just going to make sure that I'm looking at the front of the design. And then I'm just going to straighten everything up. And because I'm working with all metal beads today, I can put quite a lot of tension into this, which will mean it's much less likely to spin around. So I am going for a single wrapped loop up at the top today, which means I need to pull that bead down so that it's nice and taut with that floral spacer bead in the right orientation. I'm going to pull that over to the side, leaving just the tiniest of gaps up at the top. I'm then going to use the smallest loop on my memory wire. I beg your pardon. On my bail making pliers, you could use your memory wire finishing pliers. And then I'm just going to pull that until it's nice and straight and strong. Draw the wire across the back and around one time only. It's a diminutive little wrap up at the top, but perfectly safe. Let's grab those flush cutters. We've got just over 1 inch of wire to spare there, so that 7 inches was quite generous. But that's absolutely fine. It's always better to have a little bit more than you need. Making sure everything is sitting down smoothly at the back. Then you are ready to add in your earring finding. Now I have gone for a beautiful, simple gold earring finding to be reminiscent of the colours in the beads that I've chosen to work with. And we're just going to open half of that as if it's a jump ring, making sure that you've got the correct face forwards. It's a classic mistake of mine to put that on the wrong way round. Close that back up. Make sure that you're happy with how the spring sits if you're using spring earrings. And then you have got yourself some lovely festival fringe earrings from that fantastic Jimi Hendrix mix and the Doors mix from Jessie James Bead's Summer Festival, which is our Magical Mystery Bead Box for July 2024.